Welcome back, everybody. Now, being one of South Africa's most promising musical talents, Robin Fassie, the nephew of SA pop legend Brenda Fassie, moves steadily towards becoming one of the finest young jazz musicians on the scene today. Already an outstanding trumpeter, his relaxed, mature and soulful style combines sensitivity and flair with great skill. Honing his skills from the University of Cape Town, South African College of Music, as well as the University of Norway, Grieg Akadameit, he's had the privilege of recording, performing and doing tours with well-respected and award-winning musical artists in South Africa, to name a few: Nduduzo Makhathini, Bokani Dyer, Dludlu, Beatenberg and Black Coffee. Now, this young talent, Robin Fassie, joins us now in studio. Robin, a very good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
It's an absolute pleasure, man. Take us through how you were introduced to jazz music, because there's this narrative that jazz music only appeals to the elder folk, but you are fairly young, not only by age, but in the game. So how were you introduced to jazz music in particular?
I mean, for me, it really started in high school. My music teacher, Kate, he was my first mentor. He gave me my first jazz record, Miles Davis Kind of Blue. And I think for me, that was the setting stone for my introduction to jazz. He also told me that
were you already interested in jazz at that particular
I was
time?
not. I was, I'm in high school. I'm into hip hop, R&B, house music. And then I just found a love for jazz because it was an expressive device for me. And yeah, that's what I needed at the time, to express myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
And since tomorrow is Jazz Day, and the whole month of April has been, World Jazz Month as well, what does jazz music mean to you?
Jazz is a lifestyle. It's a form of communication, community and expression. So I feel like for me, jazz is more of something that I can relate to in the sense of telling my stories. I feel like it's a great platform for me to even create topics and scenarios for other people to come up with their own conclusions as to what they're thinking is happening socially and politically in the world in our current times in South Africa. Yeah.
And how has coming from a musical family inspired you to take up jazz music?
It's something that I hid for a long time because I kind of wanted to build my own legacy, right?
But I think bask in the glory of someone else.
Exactly, especially because it's two very different genres, pop and jazz. But obviously people caught on after some time. They asked, are you related to Sis Brenda? I was like, yeah, it's my aunt, but I'm trying to stay away from that question. But I decided to form my own path, my own legacy, with jazz being the focal point of my source of improvisation, I would say. Yeah.
So have you tried other genres? Because you say that you're quite interested in hip-hop before your teacher gave you a jazz record.
Most definitely.
Did you try other genres as well?
I was a house head, deep house, before jazz. In fact, I never liked jazz before until high school. So I actually have a trio we called N-Light. We do electronic beats and hip-hop, R&B. So most definitely, I'm not locked down to jazz specifically. But for this first album that I released, I thought it was important to pay homage to my mentors before I delve into my own musical sound, I would say. Yeah.
So that album is called Ntwasa, right?
Ntwasa, The Becoming, yeah.
Yeah. Why Ntwasa? Why the title?
It's basically a journey. So Ntwasa refers to the state of becoming and the acknowledgement of the multidimensional transition of a being. In this project, I felt that we need to use music and improvisation as tools to deal with spiritual, traditional and social topics, So it's just a journey from my different or very multifaceted background. I come from, my mom is colored and my dad is Xhosa, right? So the two worlds really came together. So I decided to pay homage to that in this first album, just a very different lifestyles and cultural.
Since it has somewhat a spiritual influence, did you explore that particular aspect generally, or was it triggered by your own personal experiences in the spiritual realm, that is?
I would say both personally and kind of something that I had to, it's a rite of path. The second song on the album is called Inhlungu. It's basically me speaking about the difficulties and the challenges of being an initiate, becoming a man. So that song specifically just speaks about that time when I was away going through the transition of becoming a man. So this album deals with various topics. There's the marching bands in Cape Town, the Klopse, basically. And then it's the spiritual thing, and then it also pays homage to friends and mentors that I've lost along the way. The final song on the album is called Letter to Cecil Rhodes. I felt it was important to address this topic because, you know, he wrote the blueprint for apartheid. So my letter was basically a way for people to come up with their own conclusions as to what they think about his contribution to our society, I would say. Yeah. And that song came to me while studying at UCT during the whole Rhodes Fees Must Fall movement.
Yes.
Yeah, so that one's really special.
So who do you say is or has been your biggest musical influence?
I would say my mom. My mom put me onto R&B.
Okay.
So in terms of me, like, discovering music, my mother was always the one who played music in the house and put me onto new music. Yeah.
All right. All the best, man. Thank you so much for chatting to us.
Thank you so much.
Good stuff. Well, that was trumpeter, producer, and composer Robin Fassie. He'll be performing for us shortly, so make sure that you stay tuned to Morning Live.